Hey, Deborah. Thanks for this question. I have an idea for how to solve this. And for anyone else watching who isn't privy to the context here, the question is this. I need to set up a campaign that sends out monthly reminder emails for a meeting. It's not working the way that I had it set up. And I've tried a couple different troubleshooting things, but it's not working. So the details that are important is that the meeting is always the last Sunday of the month, and there are 3 different reminder emails: the Thursday before, the Saturday before, and the day of that last Sunday. And then it needs to reset for those same people the following month for the last Sunday. The challenge is getting the timing right leading up to that event, because the last Sunday of the month is dynamic. It changes. Sometimes there are 4 Sundays, sometimes there are 5 Sundays in a given month. And it could be the actual last day, or it could be 6 days before the end of the month. So through the conversation in the thread here, shout out to Constantine, I had an idea that requires a little bit of manual work to maintain this, but I think it should work. And somebody may be able to find a way to automate this completely. So I wanted to record a demo just to sort of plant this seed and continue this conversation. So let's set up a brand new campaign here. And we'll call this Deborah's Looping Monthly Event Reminders. And we'll start it with, the event registrant group tag or something like that. Now, the way that this is going to work is we're going to put this into 2 sequences. Sequence number 1 is going to be set event date, and this happens monthly, okay? So, and then the reason we do that is so that in this event, this sequence rather, we can actually send the reminders. Send event reminders using the date that is set in this field. So this decision diamond won't have any rules because we do want people to go into both of these sequences. So in this set event date sequence, what we want to do is set up, I think we can use delay timers to wait with no delay, wait until day of the month, let's say, first. Actually, we could do really any day of the month, but let's do like the first week, right? So any day in the first week of the month and then we choose specific month. So January, right? And we could say run at any time. So basically what we're doing is we're going to set January's event date into a custom field here. So set field value, and I didn't create a field for this, but let's call it, let's just use one of my date fields. So we'll say check-in date, okay? And we want to set it to a specific calendar date. So January, maybe the last Sunday of the month, the event is the 29th, right? So we would do this sort of configuration so that the first week of January, they get this value set in that field for them. Now, we would recreate this for every other month. Okay, so 12 times, and we can duplicate this to sort of save ourselves some time. Quick update here would be February instead of January, and then this one would be setting the date value to the last Sunday in February. So, like I said, 10 more of these, and this sequence is all set. And then in the event reminder sequence, what we are doing is we need 2 different lines of logic in here, but we're going to use field timers to wait until, if the event is Sunday, Thursday is, I think, 3 days before. I think it was check-in date is what we're using, but that would be the specific event date, next occurrence, and then you can choose when you want that email reminder to go out. So this would be 3 days before. And then this would be 1 day before, so the Thursday, and then this is going to be on the Saturday before the event. So duplicate the email, and of course you would want to build the email out. and this would be 1 day before, and then let's duplicate one more time for the last reminder, which is day of. So no delay, check-in date, next occurrence, 8 a.m. or whatever time you want that to take place. And this would be day of event reminder, okay? And then the second line of logic that we need is we need to wait until the last day of the month in order to loop them. So we can do that with a delay timer set until no delay, day of the month, the last day of the month in any month at 11:45 p.m. or something like that. Actually, it might make sense to do it on the first day of the month instead. But the point is, these are going to run, and then this will hold them in the sequence until the last day of the month before it lets them pass through to this sequence, which is our start loop over sequence. And because I have the event date being set during the first week of the month, and they are exiting this sequence on the last day of the month, I don't want to loop them until the next month date has been set. So what I'll do in here is just put like a 7-day delay. 7-day delay, run on any day, at 8 a.m. is fine. And then the move here is to use this add to sequence widget. And this add to sequence widget allows us to select the sequence we want to add them to and allows us to remove them from this particular sequence. And so I want to add them to this sequence, but it doesn't actually show us that as an option until we have published the campaign. So this was called Deborah monthly event looping sequence or something like that. And you can see it's not actually on the list here. So I am going to do a quick temporary publish for this just to force that to be live so that we can configure it. And then we'll jump back to the edit tab here. And now we should be able to choose Deborah's looping monthly event reminders, and we want the send event reminders, and we want to remove them from this sequence when they hit that step. So what this does for us is effectively create a 2-sequence loop. So the event reminders run, and then they hop into here, and then it jumps them back into here. But during the time that they're in here, this sequence will update the value of that field with the new event date. And the reason that's important is because when they enter this sequence, we need that field to be updated because these steps will schedule based off of the date in that field at the time that they enter it. Now, the final thing that I'll recommend is I think it's important to have like a conclusion tag or an opt-out of some kind, right? So if they, I don't know if this is a paid group, but if they cancel or unsubscribe, you want to remove them from this automated process. So this would be sort of a fail-safe in case somebody stops paying or we need to just pull them out. But the manual component that I mentioned is this particular sequence. We need to choose those specific dates. Now, I think it probably is possible to make this part automated if you can like construct a zap that is able to calculate the last Sunday of a given month and put it into that field. Like there might be a way to smooth that process out. But the beauty of the way that I have it laid out here is that once a year you need to come in and update the dates in this sequence, and like it shouldn't take more than a matter of a couple of moments to pick the last Sunday in 12 different months. But that the annoying part is that it is indeed manual. The silver lining is that it's not a whole lot of manual effort, and you can limit it to once a year sort of housekeeping or admin type task. Now, the way that this would work is someone would come in, they're immediately split into these 2 sequences. realizing that they probably would go into these two sequences simultaneously. So we might want to put a delay before this sequence just to give time for that first event date to run. So what I'll do is just put a 1 hour delay here. So I'm just talking through that, but I think that would just give time for at the very beginning for that date value to be set, so that when they enter this sequence, it has a value in that field to use. So let's just put a 1 hour delay here. All right, that should do the trick. So they register for the group. They go into both of these sequences. This date, the first month that they're in, gets set into that field. An hour later, they get added to this sequence where it will use the date that was set in order to schedule those 3 reminder emails. The last day of the month, it lets them pass through to this one where it starts that loop over 7 days later. And honestly, we could probably change... Well, I was going to say we could delete this timer and just have this run on the 8th of the month, right? So that they go through and are immediately re-added. But yeah, I don't know that that's any better, and that might create some extra loops if somebody first signs up during the first week of the month. So anyway, I'm going to leave it the way that it is. Obviously, there are a few options for how this could be finessed differently. I'd love to hear ideas, thoughts, and feedback on whether or not this would work. Deborah, from you specifically, or from anyone else who is working on a scenario where this could be useful, or for those of you who love challenges, let me know if you can think of a way to automate this process so that date is automatically set to the last Sunday of the month at the start of the next month, because I feel like that would simplify this process even further. I think I might have missed something. So one small adjustment that I would recommend making here. So I used delay timers. And the thing about delay timers is that if you come in here and you update this to the next January, once a year, like I said, this timer is not going to reprocess unless the contact leaves the sequence and re-enters the sequence, because it has already processed. So there are 2 ways to resolve that. The first is we could utilize this process where we, let them leave the sequence and then re-add them to the sequence. So that would look something like this. Restart, annual loop. And in the restart annual loop sequence, we would just have, a delay of a few hours is fine, or a few minutes is fine as well. Any day, at any time, and then we will use the add to sequence widget to pop them back into that particular sequence in this campaign. So Deborah's looping monthly event reminders, set event date, and remove them from here. So it would look like this, and then in the sequence here setting the dates, we would want to have a dedicated line that waits until maybe like the last day of the year, December 31st or something like that. So no delay, run on day of the month, and we'll choose the last day in the last month. There we go. At, let's go with 11 p.m. Or 11:45 p.m., something like that. And then this is where we would pull them out of this sequence and add them to the sequence we just added, the restart annual loop sequence. So that would just pull them out of here, add them into here, and then a few hours later, add them back again. And the reason for that is that would allow these timers to reschedule, which doesn't happen with delay timers if you don't remove them and re-add them. So that's option number one for solving that. The second option is to leave it just the way we have it, but rather than use delay timers, we would swap these for date timers. So this would be run on, the first week of January 2023. So let's jump to, and actually you could probably set it to run any day in January, like this at any time. So rather than delay timers, we would use date timers for each of these. And then as you come through to update this set field value, you would also need to update this to 2024 or 2025, or once a year you would need to update for the last end of the month and update the timer. But the contacts could just stay in this campaign because date timers function a little differently. When the campaign is republished, they will automatically recalculate, and if the date is in the future, if you update this, it will find the time that step is supposed to be scheduled for the contacts who are in the sequence. So like I said, just something to call out, because that speed bump could trip people up if you don't plan to bake in one of these two options. So there you have it. Thanks for watching. Feel free to drop any comments or questions below. If you know anyone that this could help, of course, feel free to share it with them. In the meantime, you can help me by liking, commenting, or subscribing. Take care.